It's Saturday morning cartoons, and so we'll animate the Magus card here. That's about as close to. Oh, I've got other audio visuals here today too. Anyway, happy Saturday. I hope you had a wonderful Friday the 13th. Well, I survived it anyway, so that's about as much as I can hope for nowadays. Anyway, we are continuing to read the insanely interesting, at least to me, Appendix section that follows the Trump exposition of the Thoth tarot cards in Crowley's The Book of Thoth. And today we're doing the Magus card, part 2. Like I mentioned earlier, he only made these comments or presented these excerpts from other of his earlier visionary works to comment on, I think, five other cards, or 5 cards, or 5 trumps. And he's using excerpts from some pretty postgraduate earlier works that he wanted us to read concerning our meditations on these, especially on these 5 particular trumps. And we did the Fool, and yesterday we started with the Magus. That would be part 1. Now, these excerpts are drawn from some pretty wild sources. The Vision in the Voice, which is his personal visions as he traveled up, if you will, if you want to look at it that way, the 30 aethers of the Enochian system. And then comments that he wrote to Frater Akkad, his magical son, in the form of a series of epistles, I guess is the best way to describe them, in his Liber Aleph, or the Book of Wisdom and Folly. And he also did an excerpt from the Heart of the Master. So in his discussion of the Magus card, and indeed when we think about the Magician card, when we think of any tarot deck, the Magus card is the only card that I can think of that overtly is not only a tarot card and the Hebrew letter Bet and the path that leads from 1 to 3 on the Tree of Life, but the title Magus is not only the title of a tarot card, but it's also the title of an initiatory level. You know, down at the bottom there's the initiatory level of neophyte, and then zealoter, and adeptus minor, adeptus exemptus. Okay, but Magus is actually the name of the initiatory level that one reaches when they hit number 2 on the Tree of Life. You're a Magus at number 2. You're a Master of the Temple at number 3, Adeptus Minor, etc., etc. But Magus is actually a level of human consciousness of almost the supreme highest level. It's Buddhahood, big time. Okay. So it's not only a tarot card and a fixed thing that can be defined, but it's a level of consciousness that's firing just one frequency lower than Godhead itself. So obviously it'd be hard to speak about it or to write about it. And Crowley truly only seriously writes about it from the position of a vision, and because it's something that we can't easily or even possibly describe, understand, or circumscribe with our meat brains. So, with that challenge before us, part 2 of Crowley's comments on, not comments, but his appendix excerpts, The Lord of Illusion. And again, here's one of many images that Harris ran past Crowley before he chose this one. Okay. Now, Older Decks by, I think it's A.G. Mueller, was kind enough to give us 3 versions of the Magus card that Harris actually completed the whole full-blown, full-size painting. But those other 2 that she completed completely were not the ones Crowley chose to illustrate the Book of Thoth. It's this one. So don't be talking about the 3 wise men that visited the baby Jesus, and Crowley would put the 3 wise men. Screw that. Okay. Although you can think what you want. Okay. It's your magic art. Okay. But anyway, that's the one we're dealing with. But the first comment, or first excerpts that he is giving us here is The Lord of Illusion, and it's an extract from The Vision and the Voice, the 3rd Aether. The 3rd Aether is really high. It's across the abyss, okay? It's across the abyss and then some, okay? So, everything across the abyss, all opposites are reconciled. It is going up, it's post-duality. And like everything else above the abyss, any attempt to describe it from the point of view above the abyss is like if your consciousness is above the abyss and you're attempting to communicate to below the abyss, everything turns backwards. So that when you're reading material, and the Tibetans and the Hindus do a fantastic job at this. Their gods are terrible and bloodthirsty and violent and cruel and hideous, but they're good. Because the better it is above the abyss, the worse it appears below the abyss to us morons below the abyss. So it's one thing that fundamental thing that people forget about when they read stuff from Aleister Crowley. Okay, it's almost like, well, it's safe bet, a rule of thumb that the worse it sounds, the better it is. Or anyway, The Lord of Illusion, from The Vision and the Voice, the 3rd Aether. And he's describing a vision he's having. It is the figure of a magus of the tarot, In his right arm, the torch of flames blazing upwards. In his left, a cup of poison, a cataract into hell. And upon his head the evil talisman, blasphemy and blasphemy and blasphemy, in the form of a circle. That is the greatest blasphemy at all. As an example, that the circle should be profaned. This evil circle is of 3 concentric rings. And when we're thinking about this is the vision of the third aether, you can sort of picture 3 concentric rings. On his feet hath he scythes and swords and sickles, daggers, knives, every sharp thing, 1,000,000-fold, and all in one. And before him is the table, that is a table of wickedness, the 42-fold table. Now 42 is a big number, especially in Egyptian mythology or iconography. It's the 42 assessors of the dead. Oh, and before him is the table that is the table of wickedness, the 42-fold table. This table is connected with the 42 assessors of the dead, for they are the accusers whom the soul must baffle. And with the 42 names of God, for this is the mystery of iniquity, that there ever was a beginning at all. I'm going to say that again. For this is the mystery of iniquity, that there ever was a beginning at all. And this Magus casteth forth by the might of his 4 weapons, veil after veil, 1,000 shining colors ripping and tearing the aether, so that it's like jagged saws, or like broken teeth in the face of a young girl, or like disruption or madness. There is a horrible grinding sound, maddening. It is the mill in which the universal substance, which is ether, was ground down into matter. A voice says, "Behold the brilliance of the Lord, whose feet are set upon him that pardoneth transgression. Behold the sixfold star that flameth in the vault, the seal of the marriage of the great white king and his black slave." So I looked into the stone, and beheld the sixfold star. The whole aether is as tawny clouds, like the flame of a furnace, and there's a mighty host of angels, blue and gold, that throng it, and they cry, "Holy, holy, holy art thou, that art not shaken in the earthquakes and the thunders. The end of things is come upon us. The day of be with us is at hand. For he hath created a universe and overthrown it, that he might take his pleasure thereupon." And now in the midst of the aether I behold that God. He hath 1,000 arms, and in each hand is a weapon of terrible strength. His face is more terrible than the storm, and from his eyes flash forth lightnings of intolerable brilliance. From his mouth run seas of blood. Upon his head is a crown of every deadly thing. Upon his forehead is the upright Tau, and on either side of it signs of blasphemy. And about him clingeth a young girl like unto the king's daughter that appeared in the 9th aether. but she's become rosy by reasons of his force, and her purity hath tinged his black with blue. They are clasped in a furious embrace, so that she is torn asunder by the terror of the god, yet so tightly clingeth she about him that he is strangled. She hath forth back his head, and his throat is livid with the pressure of her fingers. Their joint cry is an intolerable anguish, yet it is the cry of their rapture, so that every pain and every curse and every bereavement and every death of everything in the whole universe is but one little gust of wind in that tempest scream of ecstasy. There's a footnote. This image is to be found painted, usually on silk and repeated in various forms, often representing the planets, about its central glory. It's painted upon the sacred banners which adorn shrines of Tibet. I'll continue. And an angel speaks, "Behold, this is the vision, behold, this vision is utterly beyond thine understanding. Yet shalt thou endeavor to unite thyself with the dreadful marriage bed." So, this is still, the vision is continuing. "So I am torn asunder, nerve from nerve and vein from vein, and more intimately, cell from cell, molecule from molecule, and atom from atom, and at the same time all crushed together." And then he actually says, write down that the tearing asunder is a crushing together. All double phenomena are only two ways of looking at a single phenomenon. There's a meme for you. All double phenomena are only two ways of looking at a single phenomenon, and the single phenomenon is peace. There's no sense in my words or in my thoughts. Quote, "Faces half formed arose," unquote. This is the meaning of that passage, that they are attempts to interpret chaos. But chaos is peace. Cosmos is the war of the rose and the cross. That was the half-formed face that I said then. All images are useless. Yea, as in a looking glass, so in thy mind, that is backed with false metal of lying, is every symbol read a verse. Lo, everything wherein thou hast trusted must confound thee. One more time. Lo, everything wherein thou hast trusted must confound thee. And that thou didst flee from was thy Savior. There's two ways of looking at it. I'll read them both together one more time. Yea, as in a looking glass, so in thy mind that is backed with false metal of lying, so in thy mind every symbol read a verse. Lo, everything wherein thou hast trusted must confound thee, and that which thou didst flee from was thy Savior. So therefore didst thou shriek in the black Sabbath when thou didst kiss the hairy buttocks of the goat, when the gnarled god tore thee asunder, when the icy cataract of death swept thee away. Shriek, therefore, shriek aloud, mingle the roar of the gored lion and the moan of the torn bull, and cry the cry of a man that is torn by the claws of the eagle, and that the scream of the eagle that is strangled by the hands of the man. Mingle all these in the death shriek of the Sphinx, for the blind man hath profaned her mystery. Who is this? Oedipus? Tiresias? Erinyes? Who is this that is blind and a seer, a fool above wisdom? Wisdom is another word for Hokmah. Whom do the hounds of heaven follow, and the crocodiles of heaven await? Aleph, Vav, Yod, Oyin, Resh, Tau is his name. Okay. Aleph, Vav, Yod, Oyin, Resh, Tav is that lightning flash coming down the tree of life that starts with 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 9, and 9 to 10. In another place, it's in the Crowley's Rite of Mercury. There's this supreme word that's said at the climax, literally climax of the ceremony, stibidifesh, which I just said that to show off that I can say stibidifesh. It's the same thing, only instead of using Hebrew, they use Coptic, and it's the lightning flash coming down the other side of the tree of life. But I digress. Okay. So, who is this that is blind and a seer, that is a fool above wisdom? Whom do the hounds of hell follow, and the crocodiles of hell await? That guy. Beneath his feet is the kingdom. Number 10. And upon his head is a crown. Number 1. He is spirit and matter. He is peace and power. In him is chaos and night and Pan, and upon Babylon his concubine, that hath made him drunk upon the blood of the saints that she hath gathered in her golden cup, hath he begotten the virgin that he doth now deflower. Yod He Vav He, Father, Mother, Son, Daughter, Daughter, Father. That's how the cycle goes. Father goes into mother, mother gives forth son and daughter, then daughter is deflowered by father. It starts all over again. It's not even illegal in a cosmic family court of law. Okay. And this is that which is written, Malkuth shall be uplifted and set upon the throne of Binah. And this is the stone of the philosophers that is set upon the tomb of the Tetragrammaton, and the elixir of life that is distilled from the blood of the saints, and the red powder that is the grinding up of the bones of Kervonzon. Terrible and wonderful is this mystery thereof, O thou Titan that hath climbed into the bed of Juno. Surely thou art bound unto and broken upon the wheel, yet hast thou uncovered the nakedness of the Holy One, and the Queen of Heaven is in travail of child, and his name shall be called Vir, and vis, and virus, and virtus, and viridis, in one name that is all of these and above all. That one name is Vi Veri Universum Vivus Vici, the motto of the Master's Therion as 8 equals 3. And that's the end of that cry of the third Aether. And I know when people pick up the Book of Thoth because they bought themselves a deck of the Thoth tarot cards and want to know a little bit more about it, and they say, well, I'm going to grab Crowley's book on it. That's where a lot of them go, well, I just wanted to know what happens when the magician comes up in a tarot reading. Crowley, he lets it all hang out. Okay. And this last little 2 paragraphs is from Liber Aleph. And he finishes his discussion of the Magus with this. Tahuti, or Thoth, confirmed the word of Dionysus by continuing it. He shewed how by the mind it was possible to direct the operations of will. By criticism and by recorded memory, man avoideth error and the repetition of error. But the true word of Tahuti was Amun, whereby he made men to understand their secret nature, that is, their unity with their true selves, or as they then phrased it, with God. And he discovered unto them a way of this attainment, and its relation with the formula of INRI. Also, by his mystery of number, he made plain the path for his successor to declare the nature of the whole universe in its form and in its structure, as it were in an analysis thereof. Doing for matter what the Buddha was decreed to do to mind. And the analysis of INRI, Yod Nun Resh Yod, Virgo Isis, Mighty Mother, Scorpio Apophis, Destroyer, Sol Osiris, slain and risen, E-A-O, Isis Apophis Osiris. Okay. Tomorrow we'll talk about the Wheel of Fortune. And that's the second, or the third in the series of cards he was discussing in the appendix of the Book of Thoth. Until tomorrow, for Sunday school, let's hope the Wheel of Fortune turns in our favor. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.